Hey, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Let's continue with our online drive application. So I'm just gonna log in a little bit here. Let's do the login. Okay, there we go. Awesomeness. Now we did manage to open folders here quite all right. Now I want us to do two things in here. First of all, I want the delete to work. That's number one. And number two, I want the navigation to work as well. Righty then. So on this one, when we want to delete, the problem we have is that we have two tables. So deleting wouldn't be a problem if, for example, we just had one table for both folders and files. That's probably what we should have done, but we have what we have, so let's try and work with that. So if I right click here, I can click delete, but at least we need to know what table we are supposed to delete from, and of course what the ID of the delete is supposed to be. Okay, so we can put some information that can help us when we select the item here. All right. So what I want to open is a new window here. Let me load my project. Yes. Okay, so what I want us to do now is go to the HTML file, and when we create our rows over here, I want us to add some additional information on the row. First of all, I want to know what I save. So we have the folder ID here and we have the mode, but when we select something, so it's in the table.selected, what exactly are we saving? So we save the item, the table row actually. So which is nice because we're saving the whole row, which means we can check for whatever we want within that row if we wanted to. Now also remember that we do save the entire result set. So for example here, when we load, where is this? Rows right there. So table.rows contains the row information in there. All right, so let me see here, when else do we use rows? I just want to find out, see how we use it. Okay, so we can use the ID there from, what is this, file info.show. Okay, so the same way we do the show file info, we can also, oh yeah, so there's an ID there, so which we can grab, which is great. How do we get this ID? Let me find where I used file info.show. There it is. So item.getAttribute, replace that. Okay, great. So this is what I wanted to see right there. So we can always use this to our advantage. So I'm going to copy that. Okay, so now what we want to do for the delete, let's start with that. So if I right click, now I just want to be able to delete a folder like that. Okay. Now in order for me to know this, it would be very useful to name the type of item that I am dealing with. So when we get information on the table refresh here, there's a part where we actually add an ID, which is right there. So we can always add another attribute here. Let's call it table or type. So I'm going to call it type here. So either it's a file or it's a folder, just so we can know. So here I'm going to put file for now, like that, without that I tag. Now it can either be file or folder. So let me duplicate and put the second one as folder. Now we just need an if statement to decide which of the two to actually use at a specific time. So we can do that by simply checking to see, let's say the object rows I dot type. Okay, so I'm gonna do this and say if. Now there is a point at which we add a, where do we actually add that type from? I think it's in the PHP side. There's a file type, right? So it's actually file type. Okay, so if the file type is equal to, now the other file types are very different, but folder is very specific. So we're just gonna say if it's a folder, then let's move this one up like so. All right, so let's do this, and then we put an else statement like that. Let's move this within that like so. Okay, so what we're doing here is we're asking if this particular row data and the file type column is equal to folder, then let's put an attribute of type on that table row called folder. So this is the key, which is type. So it's going to be like type is equal to folder, type is equal to file. So let's see that in action. So I'm going to refresh and I will inspect the element just to find the table somewhere here, just so we can see what's going on. And let's look for the table. It's inside this div, because when I highlight, I can see what object is highlighted, and there is a table. Let's go to the table body, and here we can see there's type is equal to folder, and then the rest that type is equal to file. So that will come in handy. Okay. Great, I guess. So now there's a selected, whenever we select here, we select something. So if I click delete, it should lead to a question mark. So we are in the table where we put functions here. So since this has to do with the table, let's put the function here. So we're going to say delete row like that. So you can name these functions anything you want, doesn't matter. Just don't forget the comma there, because we are actually using an object here. So we need that comma. Okay, so delete row function. Now we want to delete row. I need to know the, actually I don't need to know this, because there's always a selected item here in the table.selected. So we're going to use that. So what I'm going to do is say if table.selected, if not, so meaning there's nothing selected. Okay, if not, then let's do an alert and say please select, even though the likelihood of this happening is low, but we should put it there, a row to delete. Okay, great. Then let's add the return. That way we can exit the function. Now if we do get to this point here, then let's ask the question, if confirm, are you sure you want to delete this item? And if this becomes true, then we continue. Now let's just assume it doesn't. So we put a not if the user clicks cancel, and then we return. That way we exit the function. So if any of these is not true, if there's nothing selected, exit the function. If we ignore the confirm, then exit the function. Otherwise here, let's put an alert for now and say row deleted. Or let's call it item deleted, just so we can see something if we manage to get through. So this is table.delete row. So all we need to do now is go to the right click part. Where is the HTML side? The models here. So this is our submenu. Right here on delete, we just need to add an on-click listener and just say table.delete. Just like that. Nothing else, no more, no less. Okay, so now I'm going to refresh, and if I right click and say delete, I should get a question. Now I don't get that question, so let's go to the console to figure out what happened. Okay, so nothing still. Let's refresh, right click, delete. Okay, so there is our error. Table.delete is not a function. Yeah, it isn't actually. It's called delete row. Sorry about that. I forgot that part. Okay, so let's refresh. I'm gonna close the console because I'm confident it's gonna work now, and click delete. There we go. Are you sure you want to delete? If I cancel, nothing happens. But if I try again, hey, what's going on? What happened there for a second? Nothing came back. What? That's insane. Anyway, if I agree, it says item deleted, which means it passed through. But let's actually delete the item. So what we need is to figure out some information about the item and then send some data. Now, there is a function here that will be used to send data that I created last time. So that's the, where is this function? Upload.send. No, this is oddly specific. Fireinfo.show. I want to look for one in action, right? Action.send right there, because this can actually send all kinds of data. It's not very specific to any kind. Okay, so after we do that, we do a table.refresh here, obj, blah, blah, blah. Let's see here. On this one, I think we need a handle result somehow. How do we do this? I want to see where I've used this. Oh, there's data type. Okay, new folder. Okay, I want to add one more function here that will handle the result here. So I'm going to call this one action.handle_result. And then I just want to put the response text from there in there like so. Instead of this here, right? This should replace that. So let me remove this up like so. And since this is the action object, let's create the handle result function. So I'm going to move that here. Do that and equal to function. This will receive a result as we have sent there. Let's not forget the comma at the end. All right, oops. So here I can do an alert of the result like as so, right? Great. Let me actually just put this over there. Let me move this into here. And this as well. Let me cut that. Let me put that here. Okay, that's great. That is great. Right, so now back to the API, since we're going to send some data. Oh, before I even do this, let me design some data to send, actually. So back to the delete function. Let's see where it is. There it is. Okay. So here, instead of just saying that, we're going to say let object, let's create an object, is equal to an empty object. And then we're going to say action.send to send data, and we're going to send that object. So of course the thing we need the most is the data type, so we're going to say dot data type is equal to, we'll call this one delete underscore row. Okay, then we're gonna say obj dot file type, right, is equal to, so we need a file type. Now to grab the file type, we can get an element. Now the selected item here is table.selected, right? And that's the item. So we're going to say dot get attribute from it, which attribute is called type. That's what we called it. And that will contain the file type, either it's a folder or a file or folder. Yeah, one of the two. So we have delete, we have the file type, but we need to know which row exactly to delete, right? So we can grab this one, we're gonna call it the ID. So the thing also has another attribute called ID, actually, the ID itself. So we'll grab an attribute from the ID, but once we get it, we're gonna do a replacement. So we're gonna do dot replace, and what are we replacing? The table tr underscore, like that, because that's what we have. We have the IDs of the rows here. If you remember very well, let's inspect that element just to refresh our minds on what's going on. So that div, that table body, you see here each table row has an ID, tr-0-1. So we just want the number part, so we want to remove the tr there because that number represents a it represents the actual ID of the, wait, does it though? Wait a second. Okay, so this represents the ID in the rows that we have brought up. So wait a second, let's do this. I'm gonna say let ID is equal to, let me process that first. So I'm gonna grab this dot replace tr and put it here. Now we're replacing, I've put a comma because we have to put what we're replacing with, which is an empty string. Then that number will remain, right? But that ID is not really the ID, right? This is the ID of the row of data inside this table.rows here. Where in the array does that row reside? Now that row has an actual ID for the database in there. So what I need to do, can't find where I was typing, so I'll just undo so it takes me there and redo. So to come here, I'm going to say .id is going to be equal to table.rows, and then let's put that ID in there, which gives us the actual row that we are dealing with. And then we say .id because we want the ID column of that row. So hopefully that makes sense. This ID we are getting is the ID of the table in the view of the user, so that it can tell us which row to grab from the rows array. And then that rows array contains actual rows that came from the database. That way we can grab the ID from there. So hopefully that's making sense, because we're going to need the MySQL ID, not the ID from our physical table here, but from the row itself to know what row we are talking about. Okay, so I think we have enough information. We have the type of action we are doing, which is to delete something. We have the file type. That way we need this to know which table to target, whether it's the folders table or the files table. And then we have an actual ID of the row that we want to delete. Okay, so if we get to this point, it means we are deleting something. So let me go to the API over here. And let's see here. Where is... So all these are data types. So all I need to do is duplicate one of these, like so, and then add a spin to delete underscore role, and then we can do something. So we leave the success here. That's great. If we set my drive user What is this? User logout. Okay, so that's the logout button. So what I want to do is write to the database. So let me grab my contents here, save to database, copy, paste here. Let me just say delete from database. Okay, so what are we gonna need? We're gonna need an ID. So I'm gonna grab that ID which came along with it. We already used the data type, so that's fine. Let's find the type from there, since type is coming with it. So there's data type, it's actually file type, and then ID. That's all we need really. So this is file type, file underscore type, then ID, blum, blum, blum. Now the thing is, we need to prevent people. That's all the information we need really. But if this is all the information we need, then it means anyone that sends this information from the front end will end up deleting a row. Now we don't want that, because a user, if I know, for example, my friend's folder ID, then I can simply delete it. But for security reasons, we need to know the current user's ID. So we need to only be able to, each user should only be able to delete what they created. So that way we have an extra layer of security. So here we have this. That's how we can grab the user ID. So I'm going to copy that. Let's go to delete row. So here I'm just going to say user ID is equal to, and paste that. But of course here we want the ID, not the username. So we have our user ID. So the ID of the row and the user ID must match for us to be able to delete. Then finally we can just run a query. Simple and straightforward. So let's create our query now. The delete query is quite simple. So the query goes like delete, of course, from what table are we deleting from? Now this is the pickle here. We need to know using file type. So we're going to make two queries. Let's start with the folder. Say folders where ID is equal to, and of course the ID, and user ID is equal to the user ID. We'll say limit 1, so we can just always delete just one row at a time. Let's duplicate this. This is pretty much the same, but from my drive instead. Same thing, just different places, right? So I'm gonna copy that and put an if statement here and say if, oopsie, if file type is equal to folder, like that. So let's move this baby up. Then we'll do this. Yes, yes. Let's do an else statement, and let me move this guy up. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. Boom. Squeeze that tight. So if it's folder, we do that. Else, let's delete from there. Okay, I think that should probably work. Now, this could go wrong, I guess. I don't know. Maybe we needed more. But I think this is fine. Then success. Yes, success. We can send a message as well, but this is fine. So let's try and delete this folder in folder 2. I'm going to right click. If everything was done correctly, we should have a winner. So then I think even the selection should disappear from there, because then we may have a problem. But let's figure it out here. Wait. How do we deselect? Wait a second. There's table.select, right? Where is the deselection? file info.hide. If selected is equal to no. You know, this is a problem when you don't comment your stuff. You end up getting lost. So make sure you put comments in your code. Don't do it like me, like this. I'm only doing this to save time on the tutorial, but put comments, yeah, to tell you what's what. Okay, wait a second. I think here when we select and select again, it deselects. Okay, so it's a, this is what we call idempotent, meaning a repeated action doesn't cause any harm. Anyway, so let's see here. Table select ID, blah blah blah, file info.hide. Where is, right? This we hide the file info when we are not selecting anymore. I would select ID is equal to no. Where did this come from? I would select ID if we delete. Oh, I see what's going on. Right. So it only selects when this is correct. So this is a hard one to deal with. You know, I needed an actual way to deselect. That way I can just call it when I want and deselect stuff. Anyway, we're gonna deal with that in a moment. So right click and click delete. Are you sure? Yes. Ah, look at that. It says success, logged in, all the information came back, drive total. Okay, and then it loads again. But looky there, the drive still persists. Huh, interesting there. Let's try this again. Wait, that didn't work. Why? It says please select a row to delete. Are you sure? Data type, delete row, username, drive occupied. Okay, success says true, which means it went through, but the drive persists, the folder persists. Why oh why? Okay, so one thing we can do, since we can see the result there, is to simply look at the query that actually ran. Oh, wait a minute, sorry, my bad. We actually created the queries, we didn't run any queries. Oh boy. Okay, query. Simple as that, we missed that line. The function to actually execute the query. Right click, delete. I don't know why that keeps happening. That's insane. Huh. Okay. Please select a row to delete. Man, I have selected a row. Okay, I think what's happening here is because I'm just going right ahead and right clicking. Okay, let's fix this issue real quick here. The issue is that when we right click, it doesn't count as a click really. So, wait, but it should actually, because a click doesn't care whether it's right click or left click. It still works as a click. So what is going on here? I do not understand. Okay, if I click there and I right click, then there's a problem. It counts as 2 clicks then, so that when I click delete, there's nothing to delete. Very interesting. Indeed. Okay, now there's a way to know whether you use the left or right click. So let's try to select here and let's do a console.log of the E variable there, the event itself. That way we can steal some data from it. So inspect, go to the console, and then now I want to right click, and then we see that right on context menu which is, oh, so this is how it knows that you have right clicked, because you use the context menu. Okay, so there's an easy solution actually to this. I thought we would need to go and check which button was clicked, but actually, because the on context menu only works on the right click, so that solves our problem actually. So submenu.show. Now on the submenu.show, it should also call the other one, the on click listener. Where is it? This one? No. On the table body here. On double click, we have that. Yeah, so we need the select table as well. So let me grab that. So before we load the context menu, let's select something. So I can put those two together like so. This is fine. We select an item and then we show the sub menu. That works as well. Or what I can do is within the sub menu here, I can just run this as well. So let's do that. I think it would be much cleaner. So let's go and do in the sub menu. I want to find the sub menu object and the dot show. So you see there's an e.prevent default. That's fine. But before we do any of that, let's select an item. So we do table.select. Now instead of saying event, because the event is right here as e, let's just put e like so. Okay, so let's test this one more time. So that if I right click, oh, look at that. That's insane. Okay, boom, nothing. That's incredible. Okay, what is going on? Okay, let's put, oh, there's actually table select down here. So it's happening twice and deselecting. This is insane. Wait, I already did this. Okay, so the problem was, by the time this is happening here, I haven't selected. Does the automat, let me remove this one that was on the bottom. Let me put that on the top. So I already did that. I didn't realize it. Okay, so that works better if we first select and show the menu than doing it the other way around. I think that was the issue. So right click, delete. Okay, this time I'm getting positive results, except when I select here for some reason. Wait, okay, so when I do it the first time, it doesn't work on this part here. Anyway, like that again. I'll need to move around here to figure out what's going on. Anyway, let's try it. Bam. Okay, so that folder is gone. Let's try a file. So this time is a file. We have two POS PSDs. So let me delete one of them. Delete. Come on. Wow. Yeah, I need to do this selection thing better. So we're gonna rewrite the code. No. I see what's going on. It's nothing to do with that. It's a delete button. You see, the problem is I put the on-click listener on the text itself, so I should put it on the whole thing. Sorry, my bad. So let's move this to the actual container. That way the whole thing is clickable. Because what was happening now is that only the part that's actually written delete was active. So that was the problem. So let me refresh, because I was wondering what's going on here. Okay, so right click, folder in folder. Let's double click. There's nothing in here, right? That's great. Let's right click on it and click delete. How come it didn't select something here when I did that the first time? crazy. Ah, okay. That's because of the issue of selecting and deselect. So if it's selected like this and I right click again, then that becomes a problem. Okay, so if it's from the context menu, it should ignore that the thing that flashes back and forth. So how can we do that? Submenu.show has table.select. So what I can do here is I can put an extra param here that says right click, like that. So we know this is a right click. So table.select. Now I can make this optional so that we don't always need it. So here on the select, there's that, and then we can put mode here. We can just call it mode. For now, we can call it left click as the default. So what I'm doing here is just putting an extra thing to let me know where this is coming from. So you can assume that every time we select, mostly it comes from the left click. So this is just some text I'm using to remind myself where this is coming from. But once in a while, we can put the word right click instead, so that mode is equal to right click. Then we can ignore this stuff here. So table, first of all, we deselect everything, and then here we are deselecting, and then we say let item is equal to that, and then while here we're just finding the table row until we find it. That's great. And then we say if selected ID is equal to no, endure that, then we select. Now we should just bypass this whole thing if it's a right click, because this should always run if it's a right click regardless. That way we don't deselect. So I'm just going to put everything here in a bracket like that. That way I can put some other param here and put an or. So I can say if mode is equal to right click, right? This is like a cheat code. So if mode is equal to right click or whatever is going on here, then we pass it through here. Okay, that should do the trick. That way when we left click, it can deselect, right? But when I right click, I can right click 10 times, it doesn't deselect. So that's a good thing. Now even the delete button will work from there. This time we get it right every time. It should work as intended, as opposed to being annoying for new people, for new users especially. Okay, so let's try and delete. Now we delete a file. Let's go here, these that are repeated. I'll delete the last one, right click. Let me delete the first one. Delete. Alrighty then. And as you can see, it's gone. So the delete is working as intended. I'll just remove that alert. Where is that alert? In the handle result function. Where is that? Let me just do a search. Handle result. Okay, so let's remove that alert. Very good. Okay, we can handle those results thingies better. Now that we have this, if I just delete a file, it just refreshes the table. That's great. Okay, so we are good with the delete button. Now let's deal with the navigation here. So the thing we need in order to navigate here on these links there is to have whatever we're doing here. There's an on-click listener on the My Drive. Let's find it. So I'm gonna find the part that says My Drive, and here mod.set, right? Not this one. let's find, yeah, this one, table.change folder by ID, and then we put that ID. So all we need to know is the ID of that particular folder. That's all, the ID and the name itself, so we can display it here, and its ID. Then we can put this change by ID, yeah. But my drive should always be there. And then here, let me just put an array to deal with this. So here what I'll do is, wait, why are these two different? Oh, this one, because that's the end folder. So that's class 26, 25. Okay, great. So for now, I'm going to mute these babies. I'll use them when I need them. So what I'm going to do is over here, I will add a div just to encapsulate both of these guys. It doesn't have to be a div. Maybe let's make it a span so it doesn't interfere with the flow of the CSS. So I'm going to make it a span since it displays inline. It will fall in line. All I want is just something I can grab and put content in it. So here I'm going to give it a class name or an ID. It doesn't really matter. An ID could be, what do you call this? Breadcrumbs. So we have breadcrumbs there, and that's where we'll put our breadcrumbs. So we have a div of class 25 or 26 to choose from. For now, we just use class 25. So now what I would do is every time we refresh the table, we update the breadcrumbs as well. So, but here, I'm going to say var. Wait, do we have breadcrumbs? I can store the breadcrumbs in here, or we can just load them every time. Since we are loading them from the table every time, let's just put it as part of the information in our API. So right here where we have all this information coming in, the total, drive total, blah, 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 blah. Let's put breadcrumbs here, shall we? Okay, I'm getting tongue-tied there, unable to speak. So breadcrumbs should be equal to an empty array. Now, instead of an array, I think an object would be better, because actually it doesn't matter. In JavaScript, even if this is an array, an associative array, it would be interpreted as an object on the other side. So that's fine. But it's a bit harder to create an object in... let me just call it let me create an object. I've created an array and then cast it as an object. So this is like creating an empty array and then turning it into an object by casting it like that. So breadcrumbs, let's remove that. So we have breadcrumbs of an empty object. Okay, so since that object is empty, great. Now we need to always read the breadcrumbs every time we load files. So this is upload. Where is the loading files? Because remember, we need to know the folder, which we already know when we are reading files. So where is the get files type? Come on, come on, come on. Get files. There we go. So we have the folder ID right there. Now, if the folder ID is not 0, right? So folder ID is not 0. Then we have to find the folder chain that corresponds to this. So all this is happening here, blah, 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 up to the end there. That's great. But we can do this preemptively here. So we say get folder breadcrumbs over here. So what we want to do is run a query that gets the row of the folder that is being given. So here we need to say, we only need to do this if the folder ID is not 0. So if folder ID is greater than 0, then it means we are not in the main folder. So we need some breadcrumbs. So here we're going to do a query and the query will say something like select all columns. Really? Wait. Interesting. I think instead of an object here, let's just leave it as an array. That's gonna serve us better. So grab that and let's come down here to the get files. Get files, where are we? Over here. Okay. So add each row of the folder. So let's say, for example, we have a folder. Remember one thing here with folders, the way they work. They've got a parent, right, for each folder. So let's go to our table, my drive DB, and let's go to the folders table. So here we have a parent that tells us which folder belongs where. So this folder I can tell because the parent is 5 that it's inside this other folder, and this one is inside this folder. So what we want to do, if we are in folder number 5 right now, what we're going to do, if we're in this folder with ID number 6, right, we're going to check its parent, and if the parent is not 0, then let's find that parent and add it to the list, and we repeat until the parent here says 0. Then we can stop. So what we want to do is say select all from folders where the ID is equal to, of course, the folder ID, limit 1. Alright, so let's get the result from row is equal to and query. Wait, should run this in a function. It's a bit confusing because the query and the query function are written the same. Anywho, we're gonna say if row is something, if we got a result from there, let's add it here. Now remember that the result from here is an array of an array, so we need to get the first result like that. Alright, now once we get the result, we need to be able to loop as many times as it takes, right? So here I want the folder ID. So here we're gonna put a thing called has parent, and we're gonna say true. So we're gonna assume that this has a parent, the folder. Since it's not a 0, it must have a parent. And wait, folder ID 0. This is actually not correct. No. You see, the folder ID doesn't matter if it's greater than 0. What matters is the parent of that folder. So this is irrelevant here. But it still kind of works because folder 0 usually is the first folder to be created, but no, this won't work where you have multiple users. So this part here is useless actually. Sorry about that, because it's possible that what we're supposed to be checking for is the parent. When we get to 0, then it means that that folder has no parent, because if you look at the IDs here, all of them folder IDs are greater than 0 already, so that was a useless if statement. So we assume that it has a parent, and then we can say do while. Let's do a do while loop. Okay, a while loop, not do while. I've changed my mind there. There's a difference between, there's a while loop and a do while. Do while is where you say, you put the while down here, and then here you write do. So the difference is that it will first run this code, and if a certain condition is not met, then it will loop until that condition is met. So it first runs the code one time, then it does the conditioning. But here we want to check the condition first from the top. So if has a parent, let me paste here, while has parent, yes. Now I like to avoid infinite loops because a while loop is very easy to create infinite loops. So I'm gonna just put a value called num and put it at 0. And then within here, I'm gonna increment that num. So while and num is less than 100. That way we limit it to 100. I don't think 100 folder structures is healthy. Anyone would do that, but it's easy for a computer to run through that. I just want it to have a definite limit. So whether this is correct, oh wait, should it not be and, it should be or. Let's put this as greater than, wait, no, less than 100. Wait. Oh, no. I think I was correct. I was correct. So if has parent, we have to loop, and num is less than 100, which it will be less than, then we can loop. At least this will make sure that if we go beyond 100, we loop 100 times, we will stop regardless what this is. That way we avoid an infinite loop, definitely. So, and now what I want to do is this has parent should always be true for the loop to continue. So first of all, we need to check if this current folder we have has a parent, and then we set that to true or false. And then while it has a parent, we keep running the loop until we have no more parents. Okay, so here what we're gonna do is, let's do selector from folders, blah blah blah. We grab that. If the row is correct, now before we add to the breadcrumbs here, because the folder ID, let's assume the folder is this one, number 1. We don't want to, well, since we are in this folder, it should be added. Okay, great. So we add it there, and then we just check to see if it has a parent. So we're gonna say if row, the first result, parent is greater than 0, then has parent is equal to true. Now, has parent is already true, right? So it's better we set it to, we find a condition that sets it to false, which is the equal to 0. So if the parent is equal to 0, has parent is equal to false, then this loop will break. So we don't do this anymore. Okay, great. Now we have the breadcrumbs coming in. Okay, now since we have the breadcrumbs, let's go to our HTML and the table refresh is my go-to. So there we go, table refresh. So we're doing a couple of things in here. We grab the username, display the username, check if the user is logged in, redirect them, and then here, if we had get files, that's great. Update drive space, that's nice. Then let's do something else here. Update breadcrumbs, like so. Okay, so just like we did here, I'm gonna grab an item. So copy that to avoid typing, the beauty of copy and paste. I'm looking for breadcrumbs. but this one is an ID, not a class name. So let's put our hash there. And then inner HTML, right, is equal to I don't want to keep calling it, so let's just say let crumbs is equal to, then let's do this. Okay. So we've grabbed that item and now we want to put things in it. So I'm gonna do for, let's do for key in obj dot breadcrumbs, like that. Actually, no, that's an array of objects, isn't it? So there's no need for me to grab keys because the keys are 0, 1, 2, 3. So let's just do a normal for loop like that. And I'm gonna put obj dot breadcrumbs like that. So each one of these is a row. So in that row, there's let's say dot name for the folder. Okay, so what I want to do is add this. I'm gonna say crumbs, but let me create an object in there. Actually, maybe instead of doing all that, let's just say crumbs dot inner HTML is equal to, and let me put these the ticks like this and put that in a $sign. So I'll just put a div and closing div there, like so. And then in here I'll put class 25. The class is equal to class underscore 25, I believe. Okay, now I want to add to the content, so I'll put plus equals, but then here I need to empty it before I can do this. So crumbs.innerHTML is equal to empty, and then let's add some new content to it. Okay, that looked like a mouthful, but let's see if it actually works. So as you can see, things have disappeared, but let's try and put this, open this. So as you can see there, and there's another folder in there. Oh, look at that. That's insane. That's insane. So there's a malfunction in there, obviously. Folder in folder 3. It went all the way. Why did it bring up all these folders? Oh my god, let's refresh. Okay, so there we go. This worked quite well, right? Now, what I want to see is the result of this, right? So let's go to our console.log, the handle result function. So here, let's do a console.log of the result here. So I'm gonna grab that before anything here. So console.log, I want to see if the error is, actually this should be result. This also should be result. We don't have this here. We have it as result coming in. All right, so refresh. Let's look at our console. There we go. Let me open that. Where is our information? Open that. I don't get my info. What's going on? What is going on? Result, console.log result. What is this? Ah, right. This only happens for the actions. Oh my god. Okay, I'm gonna copy that. I'll leave this on so we can always see it. We can close it when we don't need it anymore. I'm looking for the refresh function, which is this one right here. And right about there, I want to open up that console.log thingy. Okay, there we go. Delete. Delete. I want it clean so that when I open this, I see what's going on. And let's enlarge it now. So what's happening? There's folder in folder 3, folder in folder 3, folder in folder 3. Okay, so I think the issue is not with this, just can't fit everything here. So let me find breadcrumbs, this one here. So I think it's just this that can't fit things. So let's do style, background color, red. I just want to see how far it goes. It goes all the way, right? And what if I open that and that? Why does it go down like this? That's crazy. Okay, so it's not the fault of this. No. What about this itself? How far does it go? Open, open. Okay, so it doesn't go all the way. Maybe that's the reason. So instead, I guess we have to fall back to a div, which naturally spreads its wings. No, apparently that doesn't work either. Let me try just adding a width here, 100%. Let's see what that does. Oh, okay. Ah, right. What in the world is going? Ah, okay. I see. Okay, we will fix this. No problem. I'll leave it here for now. But let's figure out what is going on, what the problem is. So I think our loop is going all the way to 100. So this loop right here is going all the way to 100. So let's see why. So has parent is equal to false only when the parent is 0. So row parent is equal to 0, then has parent is equal to false. But it keeps adding. Ah, okay. So this is my bad here. The reason is simple. I should be updating the folder ID that I'm using here, right? Because we should be finding the next folder. So instead of this folder ID, let's do this. This is my I'm gonna say my folder ID just to make it different to the other one. So let's say folder ID. So initially I want to set it to the original folder ID. Now the reason I had to set it to a different variable is because I don't want to edit this variable here because we are using it down there. So I created a new one that I've set to this one. Then I can keep editing this one. So I'll put this one here instead. But then I need to change it here. So when we grab a new, if the parent is not equal to 0, which means we have to loop again. Now this time I will change the folder ID to something from here, from the parent, okay? So whatever that parent is becomes our new folder ID. Okay, so this will sort the problem, I think. Let's try it out. Yeah, that actually does it. So the only issue now is our CSS is terrible. This one should be in front here or something. I don't know. Okay, so instead of this, what I'm gonna do is put breadcrumbs on this. I want to leave these the way they were. I'll put this ID here as breadcrumbs. Then I'll just make sure that I always add this first one, this my drive thingy. But let's just try it as it is. Let's see if it works any better. Okay, there's my folder. There's that. Why didn't that one work? And then the order is swapped like this. So I need to swap this order. Oh wait, do I? Let's see, my folder, right? And then folder in 3 comes last. Yeah, I need to swap these so they go the other way around. So what I need to do is when displaying them, I should display them in a different order. So where is that part? Breadcrumbs right there. So to do that, I need to use the other for loop that is going in the negative side. So as you can see, this is different to this one. Let me grab this. It starts from the other side and it goes in the minus direction. So let me remove this. So there is that for loop. Let's try this again. Okay, so we have my folder, and there we go. And folder in folder 4. But that doesn't show. And why is that? Let's make sure it's coming in from here. Yeah, there's folder in folder 4 right there. What is going on? So that one, and then my folder 3, and then finally my folder. So the results are coming in just right. It's just the what's happening? It's not showing everything. So why is it looping like this? I do not understand. Let's see, ID 6, so we don't care about the ID for now. So what is going on? Okay, just so I understand what's happening, I want it to alert me to all the names that are being created here every time. So alert. I want to know whether it's the loop or it's the part where we add the items that's the problem. So here, if I open this, I get my folder, that's fine. If I open that, I should get to my folder and then folder in 3, great. And here, I get nothing. No files were found. Why did I not get... Ah, right, because there were no files, it means there was no success. I see the predicament here. So get files only has success once we actually do get the files. Goody. Okay, so this shouldn't bother us. We just need to move these guys away from this, above and beyond to there. That way it doesn't matter whether we are successful or not. So let's try go. Let's try that. And finally that. Great. Who knew? Okay, so things are working well. We can remove our alert. And now the magic part comes in. Let me find the breadcrumbs point. So I need to add this at the start. So I'm gonna copy that. So instead of this being empty, instead let's put some backticks. That way my drive is always at the beginning, right? And let me move this like so. Now I can put all this in one line, no problem. Let me do that. Okay, great. Push it in. So that's the default value there. Now keep in mind that we have this on-click listener there. So we need to add that as well to the others. So I'm going to grab this, copy and put it all the way here. Now in here, instead of a 0, we need the actual ID of that folder. That way we can change the folder to that particular ID. That way we can click on it. So I'm going to put ID there like so. So let's see that in action. So if I click on my drive, it takes me here, my folder. There we go. My drive still takes me back. But let's go deeper. And then I want to go back to this one. And it does work, as you can see. So let me go in there, let me go in there, let me go in there. So with this, I can still go back to this folder, go back to this folder, go back to that folder, which is awesomeness. Now the last one here always should have a dimmer color. How can we do that? Well, we can always just compare the length of this item, and if that I is equal to that length, which means that's the last item, then we put a different class. So let's say let class name is equal to class 25. And then we say if dot length, or if I is equal to, then we change our class to 26. 26, right? Because we know that's the last item. No. Actually, when I is equal to 0, because we're going in reverse. So I is equal to 0, then we put 26. So now then we can replace the class with $, and let's say class name, the variable instead. Okay, so let's see how that works. As you can see, the last folder is always grayed out. That's great. That's the folder we're in. That's the other folder. That's the other folder. That's the other folder. Very nice. Navigation working as intended. Okay, so hopefully you've learned something new here, and I will see you guys in the next video as we obviously continue. See you then.